All right. Tony Lewand, Space Energy. Our company is a worldwide organization that specializes in both space-based solar power and ground-based solar power. If anybody has ever heard of going into space for solar, we're one of about a half a dozen entities in the world vying to be first in space, if you want to say. The company started years ago with technology that was actually invented 30, 40 years ago. Wireless transmission from space was invented in the late 60s and 70s. The question is, why don't we have it now? One of the issues was money. The government didn't want to spend the billions of dollars that it was going to take to send satellites into space. Okay. There are approximately half a dozen countries now realizing that this is the next generation, if you want to call it, for energy. We can produce out of space 1, 2, and 3 times the amount that a nuclear power plant produces with one satellite. If anybody knows how much space junk there is up there now, there's about 4,000 satellites floating into space right now. So it's not hard to do the math. And as time goes on, obviously, as the price comes down, as the technology gets better, we'll be able to actually produce more than that 2, 3, and 4 gigawatts of power. The energy can be produced in space and shot over an 8,000-mile radius to a receiving antenna that can actually be put up between 4 and 6 weeks. Let's take this issue that happened in Haiti. We could have the power of a nuclear power plant producing power to Haiti within 4 to 6 weeks, or anywhere else in the world, for that matter. We're approximately 2 years away from putting a test satellite into space and proving the system from space, from lower orbit. And from then on, our intention is to put 1 satellite up a year. We also have a ground-based terrestrial division building solar parks in the U.S. and a few other places around the world. Our government, if you want to say, right now is at the edge of deciding where do we go with renewable energy. Okay. You asked for a solution. This is one of the main solutions. We can all bitch about what's going on with BP, the oil companies, the power companies, everything else. That's going to get you only so far. They've been there for 100 years, they're going to be there for another 100 years. The need of power in this world far surpasses anything that they're going to produce. So the idea is, how do we supplement it? Okay? This is our brothers and sisters in Washington and the other ones who make a decision as far as Richard mentioned. Carter wanted to go sustainable 30 years ago. Okay, and that time went by pretty quick. Right now, the government is on the edge of 2 major bills. One is an extension of a credit to give to any renewable energy companies 30% across the board of what they produce, of the cost of producing a power source. That's good for the next couple of years, but that's not the long-term solution. There's a bill in the House that was put down a year ago, politics, that would make a renewable portfolio standard across the United States, which only right now no more than a dozen to 20 states are actually actively doing anything. What will this do? Right now the world is creating, I'm going to throw a figure out, about 7 gigawatts a year around the world, around the globe. The United States, a small portion of that. With the renewable energy standard portfolio, California is committed to being 30+%, 33% renewable within the next 5 to 10 years. It's going to take your local government and your main government to be pushed on to make that bill pass, because that's the first big step into making this country sustainable. That renewable portfolio standard would put us in the top of the world rankings for sustainable energy, renewable. Right now, Germany and Spain far surpass us. Think about that for a minute. They've got worse economies than we do, much less population, much less land mass, much less sun. How are they so far ahead of us? Japan is creeping up on us, plus about another dozen states. As far as land mass and population, if they looked at it that way, we'd be towards the bottom. That's what's missing right now. Again, we can all bitch about what's going on with BP out there, and that's okay to bitch. Okay? But, where's the solution? Where do we go from there? We can tell them to stop drilling. Where are we going to get our next energy? There are solutions. Space is not a crazy one, we all know that. There have been thousands and thousands of launches in the past 10, 15 years. The first private space launch, as you know, the last couple of weeks is on. This is where we're evolving to. Our company will be connected with these private companies going into space. We'll be launching our own satellites very shortly.
Can I just ask you a couple of quick questions?
Sure.
When you talk about Germany and Spain, their renewable energy, do you mean solar or wind or everything? Geothermal?
Across the board, but mostly solar.
Mostly solar. Number two, the energy source you're talking about in space is solar?
Yes.
And how is it transmitted from space to the Earth?
If you picture a sailboat, and when a sail is just opening up, this is the way these things would be packed in simple terms. It would be an unfolded sail, if you want to call it. Okay. Once that opened up, the silicone, it's not the same type of silicone that we have on the ground here, obviously. It's especially designed for space. But it would be like a floating sail in space that collects the sun and transmits it down wirelessly to a receiving antenna. It's completely safe. A plane can go through it, birds can go through it, nothing's going to happen. Everybody thinks that they're going to fry. Not going to happen.
Be thinking of James Bond when that.
Yeah, and a lot of people think it's laser beams. And you remember during Reagan's Star Wars years and all these, it's nothing like that. Think about for a minute how many satellites are transmitting to your GPS satellite, to your cell phone, to your satellite phone, and dozens of other things. It's the same wireless, pretty much the same wireless transmission, if you want to say. The technology is there. Okay, it's been proven on land, and we will prove it in space. Okay.
We'll have time for questions too.
Okay, thanks. That was great.